You telling yourself and your children subconsciously about money? Welcome to day 20 of my 31-day live video challenge. Good morning from Perth, Australia on this beautiful Thursday morning. This is KaKi Lee, and I want to talk to you about your language around money. This is a conversation I've had over the last few days, and as someone who is a really good listener, I've always noticed this, especially since I started being a coach, around how people talk about money. Now, I'm not going to name names, and if this sounds like you, maybe it is. Um, but first things first, I was having a conversation with my girlfriends, my group of beautiful girlfriends that I met in a previous network marketing company. We've all left and we just have this beautiful sisterhood going on. So we caught up on Tuesday and we were just talking, and one of them was talking about, her language around money and how her children have picked it up. And she was like, fuck, I didn't know that I was saying this so much. And it's the whole, when your child wants you to buy something for them, instead of telling them that, no, I don't want to buy it for you because this, that, and the other, you just say, I can't afford it. We can't afford it, so we're not buying it. And that actually creates stories, beliefs in your children to think, oh, actually, my family can't afford things, even though you can. Of course, there are instances when you really can't afford it, right? And that's fine. But when you can afford it, like a $2 trinket, my daughter's always like going to Kmart. Over here is like a Target. I don't know for Americans what it's. I don't know what the equivalent is, but there's a shop called Kmart, and it's like a department store, but everything's cheaper. So she'll go in and she's like, "Mummy, I want this," and she's got like 10 million trinkets and pens and pencils, but for some reason she'll find something that she'll want. And I'll tell her, I'm like, Mummy doesn't want any more of this in the house. We have enough in the house. You've pretty much got the same thing, but in a different color. I'm not buying it for you, right? Whereas, some people just say, can't afford it. When, do you think I'm made out of money? Those type of language is not useful. It's not helpful for yourself or for your children. What you want to instill into your children is a healthy perception around money, a healthy relationship with money, right? And also, a lot of times your language may even trigger feelings of not being enough or good enough or worthy enough for you to spend money on them, right? So if you're someone that likes to spend on themselves, right? So, you go out with your children and you're like, we don't have the money, or we can't afford that. Or you say things, that, oh, I'm bleeding money because you're doing this, that, and the other, when you can actually afford it, right? One, if you can't afford certain things and it's not important, why are you spending that money? What we need to do is actually really align our spending with what we believe is important, instead of just spending it willy-nilly. Okay, so one of the things I've noticed is people spend on themselves, but when it comes to spending on their children, they're like, we don't have it, we don't have the money, we don't have this, that, the other. But what your children see is this, like, I can't think of the word, disconnect between you spending money. Like, mummy or daddy seems to always have money to buy things for themselves, but when it comes to spending on me, they always say that they don't have the money, or that or it's such a chore to be spending money on the children. And I'm like, why? Why would you say that? Why would you say that, oh, I'm bleeding money because you need this and that and that? Well, why don't you explain to your children why it's important for them, or that even though you might not be well off, why we want to spend that money on you. Instead of making your child feel like they're responsible for you bleeding money, and then them feeling like they're not worth it, and that they feel bad about it and guilty and shameful for you spending money on them. So is that language when we speak. I know someone who tells their son that, oh, we don't have money, we can't buy it. Hi, Jen. And, but it's not the truth. And now his son is like, oh, we don't have the money. Or he thinks of different ways to get things. And yeah, it might be healthy in terms of like getting your child to create different ways of making money. But when it gets to the point where, they're at parties and they're like, oh, I'll bring more snacks home because, my parents say we don't have the money to buy snacks. And it's like, what is going on here? So it's really important how you talk about money around your children. It's not only that, because when you say things to your children, you're subconsciously affirming it as well. So if you're always in this state of, oh, we don't have the money, or, there's never enough, then you're telling yourself that you don't have enough and there's we don't have the money, when maybe you do have the money. And what happens is when you feel like there's not enough, then you're always finding ways to create more. But you might not be able to do that. And then it causes this loop where you're like never happy with where you are, even though you might be in a really good position. So that's my spill for today. Really be aware of how you speak to yourself and your children around money, because it is so important when you tell your child that, oh, we don't have the money, instead of actually explaining to them why you don't want to spend the money on more toys or more stationery or more whatever it is that they want but don't actually need. Explain it to them. Don't say you don't have enough money and then they can see you buying all this shit for yourself. And then they go, well, am I not worthy enough for mum and dad to spend money on them? Or when you spend money, don't make it a chore. Don't make it like, oh, you're making me spend all this money on you. And then that brings up feelings of shame and guilt and unworthiness in them as well. And I can tell you, your relationship with money has a lot to do with your relationship with yourself, because feelings of unworthiness, that carries on not just around money, but everything else. So in terms of success or relationships, I'm not worthy enough to feel love. I'm not worthy enough to create success. So it is really important how you speak about money to yourself and to your children. That's all from me for today, and I love you, I believe in you, and please be aware of how you speak to yourself and your children around money. See you tomorrow.